Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to talk about one of my absolute favorite techniques, and that is topwaters, and more specifically, springtime topwaters. Not all topwaters, in my opinion, work effectively during the springtime. Some are much better for the second half of the year. Some are excellent to throw during the springtime. And by springtime, I'm talking about water temps in the upper 50 degree up to that 70-degree mark where you've got a lot of fish transitioning from pre-spawn into spawn and then into post-spawn. These are just some of my absolute go-to baits, and I think you might be missing out if you're not throwing a topwater bait during this time period. You know, a lot of the fish are up shallow. By shallow, I'm talking 6, 8 foot of water or less. And if you've got a topwater bait that goes over their head, even in 6 or 8 foot of water, it's only 6 feet away. It's not that far. So in terms of getting them to not only commit to the bait, but just to commit to showing themselves, to show you what cover they're using can be extremely valuable as well. And a topwater bait is great at just getting that fish's attention so that you as the angler can really hone in on what type of cover those fish are using. So I'm going to share with you some of my absolute go-to favorite springtime topwaters. I'll put links for each of these in the video description. So if you're looking to purchase them, you can go to Tackle Warehouse and use my affiliate link. Great way to support the channel. Very, very much appreciated. And we're going to start with one of my absolute favorites. And there's really no particular order here because these are all more situational than just me pick up one bait and go. If I'm throwing springtime topwaters, I'll probably have, depending on the lake, 2 to 3 of these rigged up for every time I'm out. All right, so the first one, let's just start with this guy. This is the Rebel Magnum PopR, just an absolute killer bait. The reason I like a PopR so much, or a popper style bait, is because I can throw this to a specific piece of cover where I think the fish are living and just keep it there. You pop it, let it sit, pop it, let it sit. And if you're really delicate about your presentation, you can pop it there and keep it in the same position for a long period of time, meaning you might bloop it 3 or 4 times and you've only moved it that far. That's so key during the springtime because the fish are a lot of times they're much more homebodies than other times of the year. So if they've got a bed or they're looking to make a bed or they've got fry in that area, they're going to stay around to protect those areas. So if this bait stays in the strike zone longer, your odds of getting that fish to commit to it go up. They multiply by a lot, in my opinion. And a topwater popper style bait is one that just allows you to keep the bait in the strike zone basically for as long as you want. Just an absolute killer during the springtime period, and one that I've got rigged up all the time. Now, another one along the same lines, and I talk about this guy a lot too, is the spin rocket, the Berkeley spin rocket. So, in my opinion, prop style baits are really good during the spring, but they have to be the right prop style bait. And by the right style, generally, I'm looking at ones that have very small props on it. And instead of creating a big commotion, they create a really fine mist. And that's one of the things that I think is so deadly about this bait. It's got a plastic blade, and when it spins, it creates more of a sputter, like a mist in the water. It very much like fry do when you see fry scatter on the surface. It's not a lot of commotion, but it's enough to draw the fish's attention to where they think that their fry are being messed with, and it becomes a really good target. Now, a lot of prop style baits out there, in my opinion, are geared to be more bluegill spawn baits. So they have a whole different commotion, whole different sound, a different profile. The spin rocket is just one that generates strikes when the bass are actually in their spawning period. Absolute must have. That's MF bluegill. That is one of my absolute favorites. You've seen me catch a lot of fish on that bait on this channel if you've been watching for a long time. All right, so another one. The Duo Realis pencil. Now, this is the 85 series. This is the one I like to throw during the spring. So 85 is the length. They've got bigger ones, but the 85 to me is a really good size for a couple of reasons. One, again, smaller bait. I'm not looking to create a lot of commotion and have a bait that walks really hard and really well. I want a bait again that I'm going to be able to throw, keep in the strike zone, and provide a smaller profile. If I were throwing a full-size walking bait, generally they move a lot further. They're made to be fished a little bit faster, and it's not necessarily the profile I want if I'm going to let this bait sit. So instead of me throwing this walking style bait out and letting and walking the dog just all the way back, I'll get it to walk and then I'll let it sit. One of the reasons I like this bait is because the way it's weighted when it sits, if I just loosen my fingers, you can see how it's real bottom heavy. Well, so when I stop it, it sits much more vertical in the water. I really like that during the springtime because a lot of times what the fish will do is they'll come up. They're not necessarily, again, looking to destroy and eat this bait. They're looking to scare it, get it out of the area. And when I stop this bait and it sits vertical, they'll come up and just grab that back tail and just pull it under. And it looks like a bobber going down. They won't move any water. You'll just see your bait go down. A lot of times as a tip too, I'll put a rear feather on the back of this. So I'm almost fishing it. I don't want to say as a popper because I am walking it, but I'm really trying to keep the bait in that strike zone. I'm not trying to cover a lot of water. Fishing key targets, key areas, and I'm throwing in a lot of just pauses and letting that bait sit there so that it sits more vertical in the water. And that pencil series works really well for that. Later in the year, I generally don't throw the small 85. I'll go with one of the bigger sizes. All right, another one. You got to have a frog. The best time of year for a frog is around the spawn. And a big part of that is because a lot of times the bass spawn in areas where you can't get a traditional topwater bait. Maybe they're down around some bushes. Maybe they're inside laydowns. Maybe they're back up in some grass holes in the grass. And a traditional topwater with a bunch of treble hooks becomes really hard to use in those types of areas. Well, a frog still gives you the ability to work a topwater bait in and through that really thick cover. So a frog, in my opinion, absolute killer bait to throw during the spawn. A lot of times you'll also get areas where you get some matted vegetation that are floating into those areas where the fish are spawning. And after they're done spawning, that's where they'll go sit when they're guarding their fry. Frog is one of the absolute best topwater baits you can throw during that time. If I can get away with a popping frog, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll go with a traditional hollow belly frog with a straight nose like this. These are the Berkeley Swamp Lords, just a killer frog. We saw how much these dominated the market last year. Just a killer bait, but you got to have a frog. If you're fishing a lake that's got a lot of cover on it, you got to have a hollow belly frog. And then last but not least, I like a wake bait. So this is a older bomber long A. A wake bait is just a really good bait, especially more on the end of your pre-spawn period where you've got a lot of fish that are moving back. They have not made beds yet, but they're kind of really in the same areas. They're looking for areas to start creating a bed. And a wake bait is such a key bait during that time because even though it's a constant moving bait, it is painstakingly hard to fish these as slow as you need to fish them. I mean, you're getting that thing just the wake, and it just is extremely slow moving through those areas. And that's what makes them so good is the fish have a hard time as well denying them because the bait stays in the strike zone for so long. Just a killer style bait. Now this for me is going to be much more geared around clear water, like really clear water situations. I feel like it works much better because the pull power on that is really good at getting fish to come from deeper water up to the surface to bite the bait. I'm generally not throwing that bait in 2 foot of water. I'm generally throwing it more on a steeper sloping bank. It works really well on a lot of your highland impoundment style lakes. Places that have really clear water, the fish will come up and hit that a lot of times before they'll bite other topwater baits. So these are the 5 that I absolutely love to throw in the springtime. Let me know in the comment section, what are your favorite springtime topwaters? I'd love to hear from you guys as well. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, we'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.